Alright, hey everybody. So this is a much different video than I normally do, but I thought it would be fun because I didn't record anything I wanted to post, and now it's downtime for Destiny 2. So while I'm loading up this big update, I thought I would talk about some predictions I have for the raid. So I'm not a huge lore buff, so bear with me if I get anything wrong here. If you hear anything wrong, just let me know in the comments. But we know that we're going to the Deep Stone Crypt. That's confirmed on Bungie's website, and we know that Clovis Bray, through a lot of this lore that's been dropped in the ARG that's been going on lately, is creating exos in the Deepstone Crypt, and that he has turned his own daughter, Anna Bray's sister, into an exo. Um, and there is a copy of her consciousness and his copy consciousness somewhere in the crypt. And the lore goes on and it talks about the experiments and the technology and all of that, and how he's wielding darkness and Vex tech to create exos. So all of that was released recently through the ARG, and we've also been getting more publicly that Aramis, a fallen leader, is going to be the main villain of the story missions, and so that I think that rules her out for being the the raid boss, in my opinion. I think we more than likely will not have her too involved with the raid. I think the last like major expansions, the raid boss has not been too directly connected with the campaign. I think Shadowkeep and Gardens of Salvation were completely separated. The Forsaken campaign kind of delved into the Dreaming City at the end, and I think that could be a similar situation where we defeat Aramis's main generals and we're chasing after her, and she retreats into the Deep Stone Crypt because she thinks maybe there is some sort of key for her immortality there. She maybe learns it from the darkness somehow because the darkness tech was used in the Deep Stone Crypt. So we chase her in there. This could be like the final mission, or we like defeat her at the gates and then discover what she was trying to run towards. I think somehow though it'll tie that into the how we discover the crypt. So what the big question then is, what are we going in the crypt for? We have pretty much no indication right now. I think we could see Clovis's experiments going wild. We learned about that somehow. We were near the entrance. We maybe get some transmissions, or the ghost picks up some kind of exo, that's been dismantled, and we say like, "Hey, what's going on?" And it's like, "I need to show you what's in the crypts. You need to help us stop it." I think that could be a really cool way. I think Anna learning about her sister's consciousness being hidden away within the crypt could be a really interesting way to make Anna like implore us to go down there. Or yeah. So we do know the Exo Stranger is actually Anna's sister Elsie as well. That is also important. That's a big spoiler, but we'll probably learn that pretty early in the campaign. So it could be like an evil Elsie in this case. I think there's also a possibility that Cade is somehow reintroduced. Cade is an EXO, and he died, like his guardian form was killed, but maybe we could revive him as just another EXO, so like Cade 7, and it's a big meme, but I think it is actually a possibility in this circumstance. Um, it just lines up really well, and I think it could create a really interesting dynamic with Aldrin and Cade fighting over the Vanguard position. So I I think this is a crazy theory, but with a little spinfoil hat on here, there is a Cade duck in the Bungie store, and it's sitting right alongside a Drifter duck, an Exo Stranger duck, and an Eris Morn duck. So those are the three main protagonists we're fighting alongside. So it could be a coincidence because they also did bring Saint 14 duck, and so that could just be people's favorite people being brought back into duck form, which is very likely in all honesty. But it does make me think there's a possibility that Cade comes back. So all of this is to say the final boss, we don't know exactly. I think I'm gonna put money on we fight a big scary robot, and we are saving Elsie Bray's conscious. Well, we're fighting a big scary robot, and that big scary robot's probably like Elsie Bray's second consciousness or Clovis Bray's second consciousness. I think those are the most likely. I think all that is to say, like, what could the encounters look like? I think that's the only really question that I find that interesting. The final boss in the lore not doesn't really matter. For world's first raid teams, what matters is what could the actual mechanics look like in these scenarios. So we're taking a lot of inspiration here with like futuristic tech, Vex tech, darkness, and tombs or crypts with the naming scheme there. Um, I think we should look at like what's strongest right now and what should Bungie play around. So we don't know any subclass nerfs. I think I wouldn't be too surprised if they nerfed Well or Devour or Bubble, but I don't see them really doing that. I think instead they're going to design this new raid with those in mind and kind of make them useless in a different way. And what I mean by that is moving objectives. So a mission like an escort mission or a mission where you have to travel to different areas within an arena or defeat bosses that are on far sides of the arena would really turn those supers into, one and dones, like most of the other supers. You pop, you get your damage in, and then you have to leave it. You can't just sit within your bubble. You can't just sit in your well. And I really think they could do this. And my main reinforcement of this belief is the nerf on Ruinous Effigy, and in a small part in the nerf on Falling Guillotine. So in a moving environment, Ruinous Effigy is amazing. If you need to move forward, you can easily just hold that ball, destroy everything in your path, and make a new ball, and just have pretty much infinite ammo. And so that nerf just came across strange to a lot of people, including me. And I think that really could indicate the mobility and deadliness of that combined was really strong in this raid. So I think another interesting thing in this idea of moving encounters is the enemies can be slowed now with stasis or frozen even. So that could really allow the stasis subclasses to outshine some of these long term meta PvE supers. I think it might be a little foolish not to run any stasis to begin with. I think I think it's smart just to go in with like all wells. I know Redeem has said they're gonna do that now, but I think you could see them switching pretty early. I think opening mission. This is my prediction for opening mission. We have this large arena, and there's this broken exo that maybe we found at the end of the campaign that's told us there's something deep in the crypt that we need to take care of, or the world's going to be in a lot of trouble. So we're escorting this exo in this giant cavernous room, and there's large pillars littered in the room, and at the intersection or gaps between these pillars, there may be like holes in the ground or large pockets of enemies or thin bridges, and this exo is broken, needs repair. So you'll have two people essentially that are sitting around the exo, kind of like a payload mission here, and they're fighting off enemies coming out from everywhere, trying to prevent you from getting to the door. And two other people are gonna have to run forward or run to another part of the room, and maybe run through some arc rings, or get some arc charges like in some of the strikes where you have those giant arc pillars you just drive through. And they maybe a sparrow's available here, and there's some small jumps over these gaps in the floor, and some kind of fun sparrow mechanics here. And they're running across the room, coming back with these electrical charges, and giving it to this exo, keep him powered up and walking towards this door that he needs to open, because it's a security clearance that only exos that are recently made down there can open. And then maybe you have some other people, the other two people, creating new paths or removing these gates or walls. You could have gates that swing around the pillars to close off some areas and open up new areas. And so you're slowly making it down there, and you get to the door. So the exo then, tells you what you need to do to maybe open this door, and with his help, you can create a key. So this would be the second counter, or maybe an extension of the first counter, but that it just depends on how long you want to make that exo travel here. But so for this door opening, I want you to picture this big vault of glass front door, and you have some people down low, and there's this forge that you're smelting these keys for that door into. You need two people to protect the forge, or enemies could dismantle it and ruin your progress. And you need people going out and maybe killing these large exo or fallen robots and bringing the scrap metal and having those melted down, or bringing some kind of pieces from the exos attacking you into and like bring their like transponders or their like data that allows them to get into the crypt, and creating this one key. And then once you create a key, another team goes through a jumping puzzle up, and they scale like the side of the wall around the door to like slot the keys in. And you do this, like they loved it for like these encounters to make you do like 6, but maybe it's only 3 if this is all one encounter. So after that, you need to probably have a jumping puzzle, and I think a really cool inspiration for this section could be the Titanfall 2 campaign level, where you're going through the if you've never played Titanfall 2 campaign, there's this one boss fight in this synthetically made arena, and to get to the boss fight, you had to go through this gigantic factory where these really large cranes and robotic arms are carrying these slabs of metal, and they're slowly getting decorated with like houses or trees or cars, and they're all like tiles that they get placed into this giant arena. So you once you get all the way to the top, it's just large. It looks just like a large city, and you fight these giant robots in it. And I think that could be an amazing inspiration for this boss battle. So I don't know if they'd copy all of that exactly. I mean, it was a great level, and I would be ecstatic to see all of those influences almost copied. But I think they will take those really industrial cranes. We've seen a lot of these shots of the very futuristic, large factory that looks very similar to this idea in the trailers. So I think that could just be a really cool jumping puzzle. Have some conveyor belts you have to navigate as they move really fast or malfunction, and you have cranes that are moving around that you have to jump between, um, stuff like that. Jumping puzzles are never that complicated. I think this could just be a really cool like space to allow the player to get a like sense of how crazy big the crypt is. And I think that's the main reason you have jumping puzzles, and I think that's a really interesting idea that I hope they go with, because I do really love that Titanfall 2 level. If you haven't played Titanfall 2 campaign, by the way, you should definitely check it out. Two of my all-time favorite campaign levels are in that one campaign. But so you get through the jumping puzzle, you get to your final boss. You got some kind of big scary robot, some kind. Who's the consciousness in that? I don't know. I think that doesn't matter. But I think you see a lot of the mechanics you've seen before. I think you see some ideas of like undead enemies, like enemies that you can deactivate, but maybe they just keep like they slowly power back on and start chasing you, and slowing abilities or movement abilities that can get you away from them fast will really help you out or keep them away, because they're like very powerful with like melees or something. I think I could really see them avoiding a damage phase and immune phase archetype that they've kind of been stuck in for so long, with a like maze. And you could see them like the runner heroic mission on Mercury, where there's these walls that you can't shoot through but you can walk through, and the boss is just constantly running away, and like a group of enemies will come around the corner, and I mean, when you're over level you just run past them, but when you're on level you actually have to kill all these enemies, or they're gonna pick a teammate off or slow you down. And so the whole idea is quickly dispatching a group of enemies and keep moving. And once again, that's really taking these well and bubble subclasses that have become the staple and making them almost useless. And it really caters to the new subclasses by maybe slowing the boss down, or just freezing that whole group of enemies quickly so you can keep moving without even killing them all. And while you chase the boss, maybe another entity is slowly looming towards you as well. So you could also be in trouble if you take too long in that sense. Or maybe you could slow him down as well with your stasis abilities. And you could bring back this idea of closing off certain paths. Maybe a team, like a small team, maybe two people on the team are, adjusting the paths ahead of the boss and adjusting the paths for your players. I think that could be really interesting. Um, and you have 4 people down below doing DPS and fighting off waves of enemies. Um, I think I really like the idea of grabbing energy and using it. So maybe the people who control these doors have to swap out because they have to go get energy and then are able to, control doors for a few, like a minute, and then they have to swap out again. So you have a slow um, revolution between controlling the arena and controlling who's actually down there chasing the boss and hurting the boss. Um, I think that's a really cool idea, and I don't know if they could currently implement that. I think the runner is this really cool idea of a mission that I personally thought was maybe a little annoying, so they could adjust it so you have a little more power over the situation. Um, yeah, I think my money's on Cade not coming back. I think my money's also on maybe Clovis Bray is being manipulated, and we discover that at the end of the raid. We could see him, you know, get tied to Savathun maybe. Um, the darkness he used in his experiments, maybe they ran out of control, and Savathun like took him over or something. I think in some way Savathun may be referenced because we do have the Savathun raid is the next year, but maybe not. The Garden of Salvation didn't really hint too much towards Deep Stone Crypt, as far as I know. I might be wrong on that, but I can't think of anything right now. I I think Elsie Bray may be like the person we're saving, even though we have the Exo Stranger. Maybe she wants to rescue her alternate personality, or I think so. Since we have the Exo Stranger, it's very confusing because there's a copy of her consciousness. So maybe it's just an evil version of the Exo Stranger that we have to fight, and she's maybe like capture Clovis Bray, and we save him, and he helps us harness darkness and Vex tech. I think that's actually a really cool twist. But I think in the lore, Clovis Bray has really been demonized, and we see him, manipulating the Bray sisters and really kind of being sketchy, getting the dark technology. So I don't know. I think it'd be an interesting twist to see us save him. So I think I'm gonna go with that as my money bet because I don't know. I like twists. I just don't want Clovis Bray to be the boss. That's my main reason. I hate the idea that they just like told us like, hey, here's the boss. But at the same time, it's kind of cool to have some lore, some backstory for those who care before ahead of time. Yeah, so let me know what you think of these ideas. I mean, I definitely haven't designed any video games or raids in my life, so these are all just spitballs of like cool encounters that kind of counter Bubble and Well in my eyes. And I think a mobile encounter at the very least is very likely with the Ruinous Effigy nerf alone. I think you can see that and say, huh, why did they nerf that? And you can see what it's strongest at, and that is movable sphere damage that you can take with you. So, I mean, let me know your thoughts. Sorry if this was a bit of ramble at times, but Destiny's down, so maybe your appetite for anything Beyond Light related is as high as mine. Hope you have a good one. I'll see you in Beyond Light. Have a good day. See you next time.